Good morning, everyone. Beautiful Tuesday morning here. Post Irish Hills, Michigan International Speedway, the 2 mile oval that gave us, I don't know, one of the best races of the year. I feel like we've had better and better races all year long. This next gen car, for all the complaining we do about it, deservedly so. We got quite a show this weekend at Michigan. I know a lot of people are not going to love that Denny Hamlin won the race, but it was, I think, one of the better races all year in terms of speed, strategy, passing, on track action. There was a little taste of everything. This was the buffet of next gen racing in NASCAR here in Michigan. So really excited to get everybody's thoughts as we get the show rolling this morning. I think there's a few things to like touch on that everybody's kind of talking about, but um just wanted to recap the fact that this kind of weekend is what we need more of in the sport. It feels like trucks raced. That was kind of a beautiful disaster in terms of tough restarts there at the end. The racing all day was pretty good, but tough restarts there at the end. Corey LaJoy, the TV guy with the P5, was pretty impressed with him in that Spire truck after all of the, oh, I don't want to race down below cup. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Ends up finding some success in a truck. It's all about momentum, and maybe that's something that he can continue forward with if he chooses to continue in those types of rides. Stuart Friesen capturing victory at Michigan. What an awesome story for him. Just that truck has run so good all year long, and he just hasn't had the the luck, I guess, the finishes that he really needs, and it just all fell the right way. This race in a Corey Himes world, Stuart Friesen was able to kind of squeak one out and get what he deserved finally after all these weeks of giving it a shot. Um, Friesen now locks himself into the playoffs in the Truck Series. He's 10th in points, but Corey Himes still, how many points ahead is he? 133 points ahead of the rest of the field in the Truck Series point standings. Pretty intense lead for Heim time over there in the trucks. But you go down to the overall race results. So Stuart Friesen finishes this race. He wins this race. Grant Enfinger, Luke Fenhouse, the 21-year-old who could be a 45-year-old with 3 children, Ben Rhodes, Corey LaJoy, Matt Crafton, Jake Garcia, Chandler Smith, Andreas Perez, and Lane Riggs round out the top 10 in the trucks. And then Carson Hocevar brought it home 11th. Notable finish. Frankie Muniz finishing in 14th this race. And car with the fastest lap, Caden Honeycutt, fell to 21st. He was involved in one of those late race restart incidents. I don't know. Truck Series felt good. There wasn't a lot of drama to talk about, really, besides those restarts there at the end where people just couldn't seem to hold it all together. They could barely get back to the start finish. Apologize in some of those situations. So definitely, oh, I want to make this smaller. Sorry, hold on. Oh, I can move it. I feel fancy. What if I click that? Oh, that's smaller. That's bigger. Let's do that one. I like this one. There we go. Yeah, but all good things in the trucks. Good things in the trucks today. Or I'm sorry, this weekend. Ram was the talk of the town, really. Michigan, we always know there's opportunities for OE support to make announcements. This is a race that means a lot to them in Michigan. But Ram is returning to the Truck Series. So Dodge is not Ram anymore. I don't make the rules. All right. I just looked it up. Stellantis is the parent company. Dodge is the child company. and then Ram is like a subsidiary brand of Dodge. It's confusing because Dodge Ram used to be the like common linked truck name, make, and model. So it makes sense that it doesn't make sense for people who aren't like very tapped into the industry, but Ram is its own brand now, just like Dodge and Jeep are their own brands. But it's really awesome to see Ram come back and be a part of the truck series. It gives me hope that there are more OEs on the horizon, really kicking off the old days of just better opportunities for teams. Truck teams should be really amped, and prospective investors should be really, really amped about this opportunity where, you might be able to get in and get going early with Dodge and start, and you don't need to be fifth in the pecking order for Chevrolet or Toyota or Ford in the truck series anymore. You can get a chance to get those resources up front, be more competitive, showcase a new brand, attract new sponsors. And what that does for the other OEs is it kind of puts their feet to the fire in a lot of ways. Okay, Dodge is here now. We need to be better than we've ever been. We got somebody else to contend with. So I think it's a home run. The baby gender reveal was weird, you know, with the blue and red smoke. I guess it's supposed to be like an homage to American motorsports with the red and the blue. The car was black though. Like I don't know. This was truly one of the worst kept secrets though over the last week and a half, where it seemed to leak, and they had the truck at a trade show or a event where it was just sitting out. People kind of had the chance to get photos of it, or media accidentally captured it through photo and video. So, um, but no, I think it's the first time in almost 20 years or more that we've had a fourth manufacturer in the sport. Uh, Again, just giving that opportunity for that fourth cup manufacturer, whether it's Honda, whether it's Dodge. In a perfect world for me, it's Dodge, but it seems like it's going to be Honda as they move forward in those conversations. But um, really exciting stuff. No, Honda's right there. Honda's right there. Honda's going to bring in a hybrid power unit, though. So be prepared for that. Everybody wants Honda. Oh, we want Honda. We want Honda. Honda means hybrid. That's what's going to happen there, because they don't have a V8 offering. Hybrid's not bad necessarily. You see what IndyCar does. They have hybrid power units in those cars, and they are freaky fast. And they still retain that like very true to brand performance and sound and everything that those fans, kind of enjoy. I have a hard time wrapping my head around what a hybrid cup car would look like. Yeah. Yeah, they've been running that hybrid system, the hybrid sensors on like the rear differential, to see if, how many horsepower can they quantify in an electric motor that would sit on the rear wheels. And again, they wouldn't get the opportunity to use this all the time. It would be a hybrid model. I don't know. I'm not a science guy or an engineer. I don't know what makes sense. Um, yeah, Alan, it's one of these deals where something electric is gonna happen. It's just a question of how introduced is it in the Cup Series versus in its own series. So they have that EV NASCAR car, whatever you want to call it, car. It's looks like it's going to run on its own in its own series, which is fine. But if the next gen car does go full electric, that would be shocking to me. I don't think they're in the market to make that shift, especially now as OEs and automakers are shifting away from going fully EV, the way that maybe they hadn't a year ago or 2 years ago. So it's one of these questions of what makes sense from the motorsports side. IndyCar has been a great experiment to watch undertake that. I just don't understand. Like maybe there's a hybrid system where it works great, where it allows for more passing, like DRS zones, where all right, we're fuel saving, but I want to get around this guy and I want to hit the EV system, or I want to hit the hybrid, and you can save up your hybrid and use it when you want. It would add another element to the strategy of racing. Um, I don't know. It would be like a little turbo button, I guess, if they gave them the option to select when they wanted to use it. I prefer that they stay all motor for me personally. Um, that's one of the traditional things that I think would benefit the sport, continue to benefit the sport moving forward, is to keep things in that all horsepower vein. Turbos on them would be crazy. Turbos on oval track cars would be banana town. I don't think we've ever seen that. Twin turbo V8s. It would be the National Association of Cletus, or National Association of Stock Cletus Auto Racing. Cars would be ripping with twin turbos. Did you like the race at Michigan, and Nashville? I thought they were boring. Hold on, let me make sure I'm reading that right. I was listening to an interview yesterday. Rusty Wallace, he said his car had. Did you like the racing at Michigan and Nashville? I thought they were boring. I can't wait for road courses. I don't think they were boring at all. I think we got some of the better oval track products. Charlotte, Michigan have been two of some of the better races we've seen this year, I think, in the next gen car. I think you have to tailor your expectations for what you're going to see. It's not going to be like the old days. If you want the Gen 4 Cup car, hey, Captain, thank you so much for the money gun. There's a great new update in iRacing today for those who partake. I see Cap in here. I see Rice Pudding in here. I see Ginger in here. It's a big day, even though I only race AI series now. It's a write-off. Yeah, right. If I can be your excuse to write off TikTok gifts, I appreciate that. Let me be your taxable write-off on TikTok, Cap. But I love the racing we've seen recently. So I have a hard time believing that they're going to go totally electric. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh, hosteds for Gen 4s all week. I'll have to check the Discord. If I'm still in there. I haven't looked at Discord in like months. But yeah, I don't find Michigan very competitive. Seemed like there was only maybe 5. I mean, there was battles happening through the whole field, I felt. Prime did a pretty good job of showing those battles. There was only 5 real competitive cars for the lead, maybe. But something I've come to appreciate over time is, there's races within races. Cody Ware's running around praying he finishes 25th or better. So it's like, knowing those expectations for some of those cars, to me, really helps. I think we saw some flashes of greatness at Michigan from some of the Cup cars. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you sit in the grandstands, like, you can catch action everywhere. And I think Prime, for those of us watching at home, Prime has been able to kind of capture that, I feel like, a little better than some folks have in the past. If there's 2 cars side by side, they seem to want to cut to a side by side of it. So I think that's been cool. But like, you're not going to get guys who are running mid pack that are going to run up through and be a surprise winner at a place like Michigan, especially with the fuel strategy. So I jumped on iRacing yesterday to try to like use my brain and run a race at Michigan. In the AI, just to see like, okay, how hard is it to fuel save? I mean, Jesus Christmas, Mary Marie, you gotta like not drive the car. You have to not drive. You have to consciously tell yourself, okay, take your foot off the gas at the start finish line. Like I don't, it's not a good time to have to think about that on top of thinking about going almost 200 miles an hour, sailing it off into the corners at a full speed run. I did love what I saw, though, from Carson Hocevar this weekend. You knew we were going to talk about Carson. Home track hero. kind of an underdog. I mean, if you've been watching him recently, you wouldn't think he's an underdog, but he's in a kind of a rookie and doing his thing with a team that's up and coming that isn't really as established as maybe some of the other contenders have been at the front this year. But Carson Hocevar, I don't know, man, just absolutely, absolutely, living up to the hype in a lot of ways over the last couple of weeks. I don't know what they're doing to that car to make it better. I don't know if it's just a matter of Carson's been sitting in the video room, really, he's very entrenched in the sport in terms of how much he studies the culture. He's got the Dale truck, he's on the sim. The sim is in the hauler now too. Just seems to really be on it the last, I think it's a culmination of all of his experiences wrapped up now into what we get in front of us on TV in that 77 car. I'm sure the Hendrick support doesn't hurt. I tweeted this week, people talk a lot about the fourth car at Hendrick. The fourth car at Hendrick is the 77. That, that's the vibe I get. You know what I mean when I say that? It's like that's a Hendrick supported car. That's a car they want to see do well. That's a driver they want to see do well. And not that it's not a Spire car. It is. They built it. All their employees put it together. But the support they're getting right now from that HMS partnership has a lot to do with why that car runs as good as it does also. So you got two good pieces coming together there. Again, no Xfinity here this week. Not sure why they don't do Xfinity, but I'm starting to like the Hocevar more and more each week. Shows talent for sure. Good morning, sir. How about the Alan Gustafson blunder Sunday? A lot of people. I wore the Chase Elliott shirt kind of half on purpose, because people are really unhappy with the performance of that team over this last season. I don't know what to tell you about a team that's fifth in points. It's hard. I know it's hard to watch some days when you don't see this guy who is a cup champion, who used to just dominate races, who used to get out there and just absolutely cook on them. When you don't see that driver really the way they used to be out on track. He made that hot move. And took the lead for a bit, led some laps, and then it kind of fell apart. I think Chase has a hard time. Driving this car. I think he said it in the past as well. But I don't think they're in love with everything, the way that everything's fallen into place. Big Duke. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. Nitro Nation. What a show last night. Duke was on ATYL media channels 8:30 last night, Duke, on Monday nights, if I'm not mistaken, covering all things NHRA drag racing and the like. Make sure you check that out too. But yeah, I don't know. The Chase Elliott conundrum. It's a curious one. I don't think it's a team problem. I really don't. I think people are jumping too quick, too much jumping around. I think you got to give this time. I know Gustafson and Elliott have been together for almost over 10 years now, right? But this is part of sports in general. There are peaks and valleys. And people see this as a valley for Chase Elliott. I don't. I think he's on his way up to the top of a peak, finishing in the top 15 every race. Just they're ticking away. Good finishes. And they will get their opportunity to whatever. They're right here. They're this close to figuring it out. And when they do, they'll be in striking distance. So keep that in mind as you think about Chase Elliott, because I do think there's more to be positive about than negative. Okay, let me look. I don't know. They really don't help. They don't really help Raja. It's been sitting on pocket. I don't think they help this. I don't think that was 97 as much as people think. You're talking about the Hendrick support. I mean, all the engines are HMS engines. So, I mean, that's a big step to just to start. Um, I don't know how much support they give Spire, like, to the penny. I don't think anybody but Spire and Hendrick know, but there's definitely been a significant change in performance over the last however many months that it's been more tier 1 Hendrick support. Oh man, we're really cooking with the what's your opinion questions today. I love them, but I gotta try to slide through all of them here. Give me a sec. How about the Dinger? He looks a little lost on ovals. I would love to see him get a win. You'll see AJ Allmendinger really get rolling at road courses. That's his bread and butter. He's always been really good at road courses. Mexico City is a place you should watch for the Dinger. The Roval, the Glen. There are more road course specialists out there now than there've ever been. So it's kind of there's more competition for him to deal with, but he's always been really excellent at road courses. Thoughts on Bubba Wallace? Bubba Wallace has been just chipping away. What a great season for him. What an improvement year for him, moving up a little at a time, just taking bites out of the year. He's 10th in points right now overall. This time last year we were looking at a Bubba Wallace that was, not falling apart at the seams, but definitely struggling. And he struggles a little bit every year, but he's learning more, I feel like, from an outsider's perspective, watching it. Definitely an improvement year over year for Bubba and that whole team. So, host of our 2 years ago would have spun the car on purpose for a yellow, and I was waiting on that. I think he's maturing enough now at 22, he's still really young, but I think he knows he can't get away with that stuff anymore. What's your opinion on 2311 and front row's court loss? Where do we go from here? I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to start out by saying that. But the way I do understand it is the preliminary injunction initially set the groundwork for the lawsuit is what has been overturned. So it doesn't seem great in terms of where do we go from here. Also, thank you for the heart gift, Squirrel Jeffrey. I think it's only giving me half your name. Sorry, but thank you. Where do we go from here, right? I don't want to see it go where it's going to go from here. They've been encouraged to settle out of court. That is what lawyers and judges have encouraged them to do. That doesn't mean that that's what they're going to do. And NASCAR has been pretty clear on the fact that we're not rewriting the charter just because you sued us. And 2311 and FRM are being put in a position now because of that where they can't do anything but take it all the way and go to a jury and let this go to trial. It's going to take a long time. They're going to get drugged through the mud. Both sides are going to get drugged through the mud. It seemed at the beginning like it was more leaning toward the teams. And this was a big blow to the team side where maybe they felt a little bit of confidence and now they need to regroup and understand exactly how they're going to approach their side of the case moving forward. And again, not a lawyer. I don't understand most of the tweets that I see and the updates that I see, but I know that in the worst case scenario for the teams, they could be running as open cars in 2 weeks. That's the reality. And that also there's implications to that too on the driver side where these contracts, Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace are contracted to run chartered cars. That's what it says in the contract. So they could leave. They could go somewhere else realistically. If they wanted to, they could. Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan have, at least on the 2311 side, I don't know what as much about the FRM. They haven't been quite as vocal. Seems to be like a copy and paste deal. But on the 2311 side, Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan have kind of approached it in terms of we will just continue to operate as normal until we get to the trial. And that won't be until December. So the season will be over. It will be an off-season issue. The teams do have 14 days from the date of the ruling to overturn the preliminary injunction to appeal, which I would imagine they're in the process of doing. I don't know. I would imagine that they're going to bring this back up to at the very least delay a ruling that would force them to lose their charters by the time, we get halfway through the year here. But yeah, it's not looking awesome right now, but I think it's not looked awesome for NASCAR on a number of occasions. It's not looked awesome for teams on a number of occasions, and now it's just not a good situation. And at the beginning, I was like, yeah, let the teams go out there and get them, get their due, get what they should be getting, And now I'm just like, okay, please God, can we get off this ride? Can you guys stop? Can we get this over with? But I really hope for more so than anything, I hope for the employees of the teams and of NASCAR, the people that it affects or it would potentially affect. I hope for them and for their families and for their communities that this all works itself out and everyone can go home with a job, with a steady income, being able to put food on the table for their families, being able to, go down to their local businesses and be a part of their communities and stimulate their local economies. And I know that sounds like, oh, high horse, but we live in a world today where your job could be here today, gone tomorrow. And watching teams close down and watching the industry shift, it's not an easy thing to tell people like, oh, you could all run as open cars next year and have no money. And it's like, what are you going to do to the guys who are working on those guys and girls who are working on those cars? You're going to tell them to go home. People relocate for jobs. People invest time and energy and give up parts of their lives to be involved in the industry, in the motorsports industry. I hope that it all works out for everyone's sake who's made that investment in their professional careers to be a part of it, and that they can put their heads down at night in a kind of a good way. So I hope that that's the case, but we'll see. They're going to talk about settling out of court and then potentially going to a trial in December. Let me scroll back up real quick. Somebody asked about the France family. What are your thoughts on the France family putting a car out there? Yeah, this was a good one. Thank you for bringing this up. So they wanted to field an entry through Hendrick at Sonoma. They went to Hendrick. Hendrick said, we don't have the resources for that. Go to Spire. Spire says, great, cut the check. And then Indy 500 things start happening. And Roger Penske's in hot water and Team Penske's in hot water. And the word around the Cup garage was, we don't want you here doing this like this. And then I guess the pressure in the garage got to be enough where they kind of backed it up. And they said, okay, that's enough. We won't. We'll go away for a while. They do have a team in IMSA that runs in those cars. With a driver who they feel is very competitive. So it's not like super abnormal to hear them say they want to run it, but I disagree that they should be allowed to. I don't think Roger Penske should be able to be as invested in IndyCar as he is. It's a major, major, major conflict of interest. And it's not just this way in motorsports. It's this way in a lot of industries where if you look close enough, the people at the top are overlapping into every aspect of their respective industries. They want not just a piece of the pie, but the whole pie and then two more pies after it. And it's tough to stop that because they have the financial support to make those decisions. But I am glad that, I'm glad it didn't happen from the PR perspective, right? You have NASCAR in the midst of a lawsuit with 2311 and FRM. Now you're going to have one of the owners of NASCAR then run a car on his own with his own driver, an open car. Like, can you trust the process of inspection and tech? Can you trust the officiating body to make sure everything is being fairly ruled upon? when the owner of the series car is going down to run a race. And the other thing with it too is, why always Chevrolet? Why always Spire? Why always Hendrick? Why always that connection, right? I don't think that part of it is particularly palatable to other manufacturers that make a lot of investments in the sport. Ford and Toyota make a tremendous investment in motorsports and in NASCAR. You know, the Francis went to Hendrick the first time for the Le Mans car. Great initiative. Wonderful thing. So you'd think, okay, we're going to do something one-off again. Let's give some love to one of our other manufacturers. Considering Ford's been around in NASCAR since the beginning, Toyota's invested more money into the sports. You know, they invest a lot of money into the pipeline of oval track motorsports, but they didn't do that. So I don't think that looked really good either. But it's just one of those things. I'm glad that it didn't go further than it did for everyone, for the sake of everyone involved. There's a way to do it, but it's not the way they were trying to do it. Penske fan, and completely agree with you, especially with the cheating and getting away with it. Well, that's the hardest thing. And I thought the way Roger Penske handled the whole team Penske handled that IndyCar thing. There's no other way that you can handle it. You can't. I thought the firing of the executives was a little extreme, to be honest with you. I don't think you have to go in there and gut your team unless you're looking for an excuse to get rid of them, because this would have been a perfect excuse to remove people that maybe in a different situation you couldn't have. But you know, I thought that was one bridge too far, even for the level of scandal that they were facing. You know, you pull the cars off the track, you put them in the rear. You know they're still going to be fast. You know they're still going to have a competitive advantage because of the team. But you know, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, I think is my kind of mantra with it. There's just a level of cheating, right? You have to operate within that threshold. You have to live in that gray zone of the rule book between the lines. So, you know, I think teams like Penske and every team in NASCAR. I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine, a couple of friends of mine last night. Every team is trying to cheat. Every team is trying to find something that gives them that competitive edge on track. Whether it's IndyCar, NASCAR, I don't care, any car, anything that's performing competitively, you're looking for an edge. And you know, it's one of those deals where just try to find it, but it's part of the sport just as much as anything else is too. If you own a series or you run a track at a local level, you should not have cars compete. Ooh. See, now I have to disagree with this one. I have to, only because if you didn't have track owners compete with their own cars, it would be a disservice to local tracks' car counts. That's my only. I'll play devil's advocate in that way. Do they get a competitive advantage? Yeah, probably. They probably are getting some preferential treatment out there on track. Local level, I think it's different because of the fact that local race, at least by me, you're lucky to get any car count, much less a car count that puts on a great show. And I've been trying to do things at Wall Stadium the last 3.5 weeks, and it's rained every weekend. Do you know what it's going to be like next weekend if they run on a graduation weekend after a Father's Day graduation weekend? It's going to be rough in terms of car count. So at a local level, I think my opinion shifts. At a national level, if you're coming up and you're own a series and own a car in NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, or even in like the dirt world, then there's more questions. There's more questions there for me. Stafford owner runs a modified and there's zero issues, integrity. The same thing at Wall Stadium. The owner's family at Wall Stadium, they have the owner's son runs a modified at Wall, and For all the things I've seen happen at that track, I can only speak to what I've seen there. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but they've really not shown a ton of preference there. And there's been some pretty egregious things that have happened on track where they've sent their own son back to the pit. That's because it depends. I guess it really depends on the people you have, right? Like the race director at Wall is not a no nonsense kind of guy. You know, if you don't care what number, what car, who's driving, what number is it? This is the ruling. You know, when you separate that that name from the car, I think it's easier to make those judgment calls. But it is rare. I agree. I think a lot of tracks do show preference. But again, I can only speak to what I know, and I know, the Northeast modified racing world. They've, at least in New Jersey, they've been pretty good about it. But then there's a lot of people too who hate. It depends on who you ask. Like I'm saying they're doing a great job. You go on Facebook and ask somebody, and they'll tell you that it's awful. He wins every race, and it's like, I don't know what you're watching, but do you think Dodge is coming back to the top series? I think it's going to be a fun experiment to see who comes back first, Dodge or Honda. Well, who comes in first, Dodge or Honda, not comes back. But it seems like, so let me give you a little history lesson that probably people don't know from the Stellantis business side, right? So Stellantis is this essentially giant investment company. They own brands. That's their job. They buy and sell and procure brands. They own Dodge, they own Ram, they own Fiat, they own they own what they call a portfolio of brands in the automotive sector. They own Maserati, they own a bunch of different things. So in my line of work, in the trade show industry, you'd think Stellantis, Dodge, Mopar, Jeep, these are big brands that would be represented at major national North American trade shows. And there was a period of time in the not so distant past that they were not exactly feeling like they were flush with cash. And that was not a secret because you can see sales numbers and that data is available to the public, and things were not looking good for them. And from a term of fleet sales numbers, I'm going to bring it back to motorsports in a second here. Just stay with me. Fleet sales numbers for Stellantis and for Dodge and Ram in particular were not good. Then there was the conversation around, okay, well, everything has to be electric. So there was this huge shift in the industry. When the federal government tells you, you will do this by 2030, you have to react. And all these investments were made, whether we agree with them or not, all the investments were made to lay the groundwork to move forward in that direction. And all of the funding that had initially been earmarked for marketing, for performance, so on, was shifted into this new venture to protect their brands and protect their fleet sales moving forward. That's why we saw electric Dodge pickup trucks. I don't think it's because Dodge was, chomping at the bit to go, oh my God, we have to make an electric truck. They're reacting to what's happening in the environment around them to survive as a brand. Okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox on that. The move for Ram to go back into motorsports to re-release the Hemi is a shift back away from what they were struggling with over the last 3 or 4 years. And whatever you want to attribute to that, you can be the judge of why maybe they felt so strongly about that, about being one way, and then are now shifting back to the other side. I'll let you all discuss that. But it's the best thing for their brand too, because they're showing that they are not just saying, we're not just saying we want to sell you a Hemi, because then you're just a shill, right? You're just a shill. I'll sell. Oh, we're so involved. We understand the culture and the consumer. We'll sell them anything. Like, people can see through that in today's world. So I think that there's a genuine interest by Ram to get back involved in the truck series and show that they're really invested in performance in general. Part of it, I think, you have Ford to thank for. Ford has stepped up their performance division, their Ford Performance brand, leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. And it is putting pressure on other OEs and other manufacturers to get with the program and be competitive. And the OE wars of going to racetracks and going to Le Mans and going to these different major keystone events, it's starting to come back again like it did back in the day. So that is my long rant about why it is super important for Ram to be back. Do I think they'll go to the Cup Series? That is why the question was asked in the beginning. I hope they do. I hope that they do decide to come into the Cup Series with a Cup car, or at least make that jump into the Xfinity Series. But I think this is the easiest way for them to commit to performance and see how it goes. And that's what they're going to do, because they're still not exactly as cash positive as they'd want to be, I would imagine. Yeah, their sales numbers are still really awful. Yeah. Well, the other thing too, and we're not going to go on a super huge tangent with the automotive industry. We could, if you guys want to really chop it up about cars in the aftermarket, but cars are expensive, man. They're really expensive. New cars are super, super expensive in the world we live in today. I can't buy a new car. I can't afford to think about buying a new car. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Like the average auto payment in the United States now is like over $600 a month. I'll be riding a bicycle to work before I end up in a new car. Thank God I drive a Honda. I'll stand behind that all day. So I think there's marketing, right? You can be at the forefront of marketing, and people will take loans and spend $1,000 a month on that Raptor, or $1,000 a month on that Challenger, or $1,000 a month on that BMW. People will do it, and marketing works, and it gets people to buy products. But I would love to see just, I hope that Dodge and Ram and Stellantis and this shift to motorsports and the Hemi V8, they've been making Hemi V8s for 100 years. Hopefully it lowers the cost of production on these vehicles. It's not like there's a new technology that needed to be developed and all this R&D money had to go into this new engine tech or this new whatever tech. Cars are just iPads with engines in them now, for the most part. Everything is electronically controlled. Everything's a wiring loom. Everything's an ECU. I hope that it puts automakers in a position to do what's right and pull back on some of the overinflated pricing. We saw Ford, and again, not to go down a huge rabbit hole here on the automotive side, but we saw Ford posted some of their best numbers of recent times at the end of this last fiscal year. And it's because they're offering friends and family employee pricing in a time where there is a lot of financial uncertainty amongst automakers that are importing and exporting parts, pieces, and vehicles. They got ahead of the game. They said, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to raise prices. We're going to, whatever new costs are incurred, we're going to take it on the chin, and we're going to give our drivers and our future potential customers friends and family pricing. Now, I'm sure they have some fun things weaved into that friends and family pricing that they still make their money, but I bet you it's a better deal than what they were given before. And it's certainly a better deal than what other brands are giving out right now in terms of, the proof is in the pudding. They sell more cars. So something's working. All right. I'm going to try to make a turn out of there now. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Ram they run on track. Will it be like a special edition? Like the Camry XSE is the Cup car. Will Ram want to put like a 1500 Hemi? Will they brand it differently? I'm really curious to see what they want to do there in terms of that. But all right, we'll dive into Michigan a little bit here. Your top 5 at Michigan. Denny Hamlin wins the race. Daddy, I'm sorry, I beat your favorite driver. Comes out again. This is his 3rd win of the year. He took the crown from Byron. Poor William Byron. Can we just give him just shed a tear for Willie B the last couple of weeks? He has been dominant in the clean air. This race, they just didn't get the fuel right. And he gets, doesn't have a choice but to let Denny Hamlin get by him. It's tough. What's up, Dalton? How we doing? But yeah, the 24, if I was a betting man, I'd have my eye on him for the next couple of weeks because there's gonna be a breakthrough there. The guy's running at the front of the pack every single weekend. Every single weekend. He is, believe it or not, still at the top of the points after Michigan. The points leader. It's not a hot take, the points leader is going to win a race. But the way we've seen him finish races, he's got 7 top 5s this year. 1 win in 15 starts. So talk to me about William Byron, because William Byron is him. Himothy Byron, you know what I mean? I can't. That's too many. I'm trying to twist it too many different ways. Trying to twist it too many ways. He is him though. But unfortunate that he couldn't close it out this week. Denny Hamlin getting the win. At 44, Denny Hamlin becomes just the 10th driver to win a Cup race after completing 700 races. Now has 57 career Cup wins, surpassing Kyle Busch as the JGR all-time Cup Series winner. So some history there a little bit. Denny also on baby watch. There's a real conversation that he may not make it to Mexico. He may not make it to Mexico. I don't know who the reserve driver is in Mexico, but I know at Nashville it was Ryan Truex. I'm sure they have a reserve driver on staff that's traveling with the team, especially now. I know that he was said on Kevin Harvick's victory interview, that they were hoping to get this baby out this week. They're a week overdue. All right, let's get her done. But that's not really how it works sometimes. So hopefully everything is just healthy and happy in that household, and they get a healthy son. So that's what's important. Brian, thank you for the follow, by the way. Terry, what's going on, man? How are you? But no, it's Denny Hamlin is still operating at an extremely, extremely high level, and at overbaked. He's overdue himself. Let's use baby terms. He's a guy that, if he wasn't in as competitive equipment as he's in at JGR, could he still be finishing like he is? I don't know. 700 starts later, I don't know, but he's doing it. I think he's overperforming. He set such a high standard for him and his team and their performance, but I do think that I think this year is the Hamlin year. I think the less they talk about it being their year, the more likely it is that they'll win something. So whether that's the bracket challenge, whether that's a championship, I don't know. But I do think that he's had more of a methodical winning, a pattern of winning this year. So I hope that makes a difference for him, because he does deserve to win a championship, truly. Chris Buescher dominated stage 1, held on for stage 2. This is RFK's second consecutive top 10 at Michigan. Yeah, RFK 1, 2, 3, or I'm sorry, RFK, all 3 cars in the top 10, not 1, 2, 3, but all 3 cars in the top 10. That's big. That's big for that program. Obviously not quite having the speed to compete all the way at the front, but Buescher was looking like he was on, that thing was a rocket ship. Beginning in the middle of the race, I guess they just couldn't get it exactly where they needed to continue to stay competitive through the late stages. But Priest, Priest was in the back, he was in the middle, he was in the back, he was in the back, he was in the back, and then that's a tale of two teams, where one figuring out how to get themselves forward, one trying to keep and maintain their position on track. So, and then Brad K, I've missed seeing Brad K run in the mix. So it's nice to see him in that top 10 position, kind of where I feel those cars should run. So good for them. Good for RFK. Gives them some good momentum. Hopefully we see more of that as we move forward. Hamlin will retire if he gets a championship this year. Yeah, probably. I would imagine. He wants to break some records, though. And he's kind of said in the past, too, that he feels that why should he stop running if he's got competitive equipment? So I think he'll run for as long as he'll be had somewhere on a team where they'll give him resources. And it's really convenient now too. He's an owner in a team. So, can you imagine, okay, Denny Hamlin stops running for JGR and he goes over to his own team, says, yeah, I want to run the 35. He'd be competitive in that car too with the resources he has from Toyota. I don't know. Be interesting to see what his long-term plans are. I think having children, I think that's the big one, is especially that he's having a son. He's going to want this young man to race in the future, I would imagine. He's going to be brought up in that atmosphere. So at what age do you have to really start being involved in your son or daughter's racing career? Now, we know it gets younger and younger all the time. There are kids running karts 4 or 5 years old. There's, if you, depending on how involved you want to be as a parent, um, that'll be the big question for Denny as he goes into this new chapter, another new chapter of life, with his family. So another big headline this week was Ty Gibbs tied his season best with a third place finish, kicked himself for some fuel saving strategy that probably could have put him toward the front at the end. But if you're Ty Gibbs, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it's frustrating to not have a shot at winning. You want to win. That's why you're out there. You're not out there just, oh yeah, I can't wait to go out there and finish third. I get it. I understand that. But this is a team that needs momentum and just needs to put themselves in a position to feel good about something. Because it has not been a good time for that 54 team recently. But Ty Gibbs able to kind of have a strong run, especially at the end. They fixed things all day long, getting the car where it needed to be, using the strategy to put them where they wanted to be to have that chance late. So, big day for that 54 team. Big day for Ty Gibbs. People talk about the Ty Gibbs alarm. They talk, oh, is he a wash? Is he a this? Is he a that? They're making some pretty big gains, with a race like that. So we'll see if they can continue that momentum. Mexico City, Ty Gibbs on road courses, but I'd watch out for him at other intermediate tracks this year. I think that's where they're really focusing a lot of their attention. Bubba Wallace, 4th place finish. That's a notable finish for Bubba. This is a guy who gets better and better every single week, and I don't know why people still act surprised, but it's just nice to see a driver has the ability to do it, a team has the ability to do it. Do it. It's easier for me to sit here and say that it is for them to go out there and do, for sure. But it's nice to see that from the fan side where this guy's got the talent, and there's a lot of people who want to, talk negatively about Bubba Wallace for whatever reason. So to see his success, I think for me, it's just that much more rewarding. And you're not going to see me running around in McDonald's gear looking like Ronald McDonald out there, supporting 2311. But I'm happy for that team and for that driver, because it's something that they certainly deserve after all the time and the effort that they're putting in over there to make it right, especially again amidst all this lawsuit action and whatever else is happening over there. Yeah, it's nice to see some success for them, even in the form of a 4th place finish for that car. Kyle Larson, Mr. Cranky. He was a cranky boy this week. He was not happy. Took a wild tumble in a sprint car race on Saturday night. And, he was kind of not in it at the beginning of the race, was really cranky. Then he got over it, finished 5th, casually. But no, he did end up with a speeding penalty in stage 2 on pit road. Put himself in a position to have to race in the back with some guys that maybe he didn't want to, but was able to kind of make those gains as the day went on. I don't think he had the car to beat, but you saw what Hendrick brought with that 24. They were looking pretty spicy. So anything Bubba achieves, he mentally worked harder than anyone else. He gets yeah, I agree. I think there's certainly a different layer of there's a different layer for Bubba Wallace that he has to work past that other drivers may not. So it's nice to see him do well, for sure. Fuel drama. Byron ran out of fuel at the white flag. Yeah, Byron finishing 28th after running at the front most of the day because of the fuel savings. They were a lap short. And that's the other thing, too, with Carson Hocevar. We'll talk about being short on fuel. Carson Hocevar ends up cutting a tire running out in the front. He would have run out of fuel. So whether he cut the tire or not, he was not going to win that race. They were on a strategy where they were looking for a caution. If you listen to some of the in-car audio, crew chief asks Carson, what do you want to do? Do you want to go? Do you want to run this or do you want to come in and get fuel? And Carson wanted to roll the dice, see if they could get a caution and have a chance at a win. And I can't blame him. I in front of your home crowd to be able to, if he were to be able to have pulled that off, it would have been unreal. It would have been something special for that team. And I think they still had a really special day, that 77 team. I don't think people really expected them to perform as well as they did. So yeah, and that's the thing. You got to be out there, risk it for the biscuit. You got to be in it to win it. And that's what some of the drivers did. That's what the 24 team did. I give them a lot of credit. They're going for the win. Same with, Ty Gibbs is the opposite side of that coin where it's like, okay, I'm going to hold back a little and make sure that I have enough to finish. And obviously that team's in a kind of a different position than the William Byrons of the world. But, it's all about where you're comfortable sitting at the end of the day. Alex Bowman had an accident this weekend that probably 20 years ago, we'd have been writing an obituary for this guy. That's the reality of it, truly. That hit to the outside wall was you looked at it, your jaw opened. When I saw him make that real that whip motion up to the outside wall there, I mean, and we just finished. I mean, I just finished watching the Earnhardt documentary, which if you haven't watched, excellent thing to watch if you've got some time. But after watching that this week and then watching that race and seeing that, I was like, oh, my chest got tight. But Alex Bowman, glad he's okay. Hope he's 100%. We're not doing that in the chat on TikTok. We're not doing that. We're not doing it. Anyway, Bowman just absolutely taking it on the nose. So it's just one of those deals where I don't know if it's like, okay, who do you look at and point the finger now in that incident? But I think Bowman's going to say that it was his own fault for being back that far in the pack, running next to Suarez and the 41 of Cole Custer. What's up, Jason? How are you, man? Were you at the race this weekend? I know that's up in your neck of the woods. Yeah, you made a good point. Sam makes a good point. It's one of these deals though. It's like an accordion, right? The 99 moves down to the 41, disrupts the 41. The two is chewing the yellow line down there on the bottom of the track. The 2 gets a little loose. It's like at that stage of the race, I don't think any of them needed to be running as tight as they were. But I don't know. they're racing back there. It's just an unfortunate deal. Nothing, I don't think, nobody's doing anything really egregious. It's just at the speeds they're doing, 170, 180 in the corners, the cars are going to move around a little bit. And the way that 41 was, the way that 41 snapped a little bit and gave the bump to the front of, not often you see the front quarter panels get dinged um, in the Cup Series, and it makes that scary situation happen where they go head on into the wall. So I'm also very happy he walked away. The last couple of weeks for him have been really rough. He went from third in points to 13th in points in 10 races. It's been rough. Engines have blown. Been in incidents with other drivers. It's a handful of things that haven't really been on him. A couple things he can clean up, but a lot of things that haven't really been on him either. It's unfortunate because they're just going to keep putting pressure on this kid. 48, the 48 for Hocevar, the 48 for this one, the 48 for that one. It's like this merry-go-round of an open seat. It's not. There's somebody sitting in that seat. So I don't think it's fair to him to have to deal with all that. But after what looked like a really promising start to the year, it's been a backslide. Now, like, this can go two ways, right? We can sit here and we can talk about how, they're going to take sound bites. They're going to take sound bites from the media at the end of the year. And it's either going to be sound bites of all the negative things that we say when Bowman ends up not finishing well, or it's going to be sound bites of the negative things we say that he was able to then disprove with his performance on track. And I hope that is the piece of social video we get at the end of the year. I hope we get that, take all the negative stuff that the media says and put it into a video because we did better and we outperformed and we came back from a deficit. So for me, that's the position I take on it. I really hope that, this was a rough week for him. He's still planning on traveling to Mexico City. I was listening to Sirius and they were talking about what if maybe he sat out a week just to make sure he's okay. Now the adrenaline's worn off. Hopefully he gets medically cleared if he's comfortable getting back in the car. But that's a big hit. It's a big hit. Like somebody said it in here that, the engine was pushed into the firewall. Yeah, I'm surprised his knees weren't touching the back of the block. Like it pushed that thing back really seriously. With all the talk after Michigan, nobody talking about Zane Smith's start and finish results. Well, let's see where Zane Smith did finish. Zane Smith with a 7th place finish. That FRM car, number 38. Zane Smith's been good a lot of this year. I don't know. I'm impressed with FRM in general. I mean, Gregson got knocked out of this one. He was part of a John Hunter miscue going out of turn 2 where they both kind of got slippery. So that was John Hunter got slippery twice at Michigan. So something maybe not to his liking in the car or just not able to hold on to it the way he maybe wanted to. But yeah, just a tough go for John Hunter. But Noah Gragson in that FRM for Ford Mustang got caught up in that incident, which was tough. But Zane Smith's having a good run. At least, I mean, I think he'd rather have had side impact. The head-on impact is I think the most jarring, to be honest. It's hard in that I'm scrolling back through the comments. Sorry if I'm behind here. You all are like, what is he talking about? It's hard in that situation with Bowman too. Like, it's just a racing deal where nobody is in a good position. The result is obviously, him being in the wall the way he was, not great, but not a tough one to say, oh, it's this person. It's just like, what are we all doing back there? I'm sure Hendrick sent in for another check. I'm sure they did. They have in-house folks. They have partnered folks. They're going to make sure their drivers are taken care of, and they're going to make sure that they're fit as a fiddle before they put them in the car. So he'll be okay one way or another. Yeah, I'm sure he woke up sore. I do hope they take that car back to R&D. It reminds me a lot of that crash that Kyle Larson was in a couple of years ago at Talladega with Ryan Preece. They gotta look at these things and make sure they're safe still. Especially in head-on. Like, we don't see a ton of head-on wall hits. We don't see a ton of flips every year, but we get them. And it only takes one incident to, God forbid, cause, some kind of really, really extensive injuries to drivers. And we don't need any of that. So hopefully they take it back to R&D. They rip it down. They did spend a lot of time looking at it when it was back in a garage. I think a lot of the tech guys were just looking at it because it was like, whoa, what is this? Look at how far this moved. Like, but to your point too, it did its job. So yeah, he's tired of hitting it. He's tired of hitting things. They'll figure it out. They'll get better. I think for that team, it will get better a little at a time. And I think the more time they spend, muffling critics, the better. It's one of those deals where if you're Blake Harris, you can't sit there and listen to people tell you that you're not doing your job right. You just have to go to work every day. That's not easy. I wouldn't want to be in that situation. But I think that they just need to keep their nose down. I mean, the guy who trusts them the most is Rick Hendrick. And if Rick Hendrick says nice things about you or believes in you enough to hire you and cut you a check with his name on the bottom of it, that should be enough justification for these team members and these drivers to feel like they can do it and to get on the track and feel confident in their ability despite what everyone else is saying. Same goes for the 9 team. I think the 9 team slander is unjustified right now. I get that they're not having this meteoric run the way that they used to run at the front, but you can't do that all the time. It's not going to be that way every week in the Cup Series. So yeah, they did not want people to see the door bars. They want people to. They want that car in the hauler. Remember that wreck at Talladega? They covered that thing up really quick. I mean, things aren't supposed to break. They can't break. Don't let them break. Okay, playoff bubble. Preece edges into 16th, the final playoff spot. Buescher now 14th, 20 points above the cut line. That has a lot of implications with Bowman as well, because Bowman is now below the bubble, I believe. Of course, it's not going to show me where he is. Oh no, he's still in. He's still in right now because Preece is on the bubble. Preece and Kyle Busch are like on that cut. We can talk about the bracket. We can talk about the bracket. Let me make sure I have all my ducks in a row. Because I don't even think some of the drivers understand what the bracket challenge is. I saw Hocevar tweeting at whether it was Bob or Jeff Gluck asking them how it works. So what is the in-season NASCAR bracket challenge? It's not really being promoted the way that I thought it would be, but it's here. It kicks off. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading the right year. Published May 30th. Okay. All right. NASCAR's in-season challenge is set to kick off on June 28th at Atlanta Motor Speedway as TNT Sports begins its part of the broadcast schedule. The new tournament-style bracket is sure to add plenty of storylines to summer months. What is the in-season challenge? 32 driver single elimination tournament that takes place over 5 races on TNT Sports. The driver with the best finish in each matchup advances. The first in-season challenge race is in Atlanta, but there are 3 seeding races before that set the bracket itself. Okay, let's track the seeding for this bracket because I don't understand it at all. Here's where we stand after the first seeding race at Michigan, which admittedly will be the easiest race to sort through because we only have to digest 1 race data. So Denny Hamlin wins the race. He's seated at the top of the. It's too complicated. They made it too complicated. It should have been by finishing position. That's what it should have been. The best 32 drivers finishing average over 3 races should have been the way they were seeded. That's the way it should have been done. This it's too complicated to do it this way. Either that or what they should have done, and I'll finish with the bracket, I promise. I'm not going to just disappear. But the way that they used to do Winston Cup, where it used to be $1 million for whoever was leading the points halfway through the year, I think that would add a big value to the regular season points race and the regular season points championship. So maybe that would have been another way to incentivize versus making this hyper inflated, complicated thing. Okay. Who's in for the top 4 seeds? Besides Hamlin, it was a big day for RFK. Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher's in. Ty Gibbs is in. Bubba Wallace is in. Although none of these drivers have a victory this season, it shouldn't have been a surprise to see them finish well on Sunday. Out of these 3, who has the best chance to keep their top 4 seed after Mexico City? So they have to keep their seed, not just get seeded, but now they have to keep it with their finishing positions. Okay. I get it. I think it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. They do make it kind of confusing. And then they're adding things in here like most interesting matchup if the challenge started today. Like that's unnecessary information. We already don't know what's happening here. Don't give us hypotheticals now on top of it. So they have projected seeds, but there's 2 more races that they have to go through with this. There are 3 seeding races: Michigan, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and Pocono. Drivers are seeded by their best finishes in those races. The first tiebreaker is the next best finish in the 3 seeding races. If 2 drivers were to finish the exact same finishing positions over the 3 races, the next tiebreaker is point standings following the Pocono race. Okay, so there you go. There's your answer. Maybe we've been misled. Is that as simple as it is to be seeded? There are 3 seeding races: Michigan, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and Pocono. Drivers are seeded by their best finish in those 3 races. That's what it says. I read it twice. Tiebreakers are getting a little more complicated in terms of point standings being the breaker, but that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. How do drivers advance? The driver in each head-to-head matchup finishes higher than the other, wins the matchup, and advances to the next round. $1 million is on the line. And then it's all the tuned-in information in terms of what where you can watch. But right now you've got Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, Zane Smith, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece, Brad Keselowski are the top 10 seeded drivers just because of the way they finished at Michigan. So it's a little intense, and I don't think they've been super transparent on how this all works. I mean, it seemed like they took Denny Hamlin's bracket challenge idea from last year that he came up with on his podcast and turned it into a monster. And when Junior Motorsports did it, yearly, they had that bracket challenge. It seemed like it worked really well. I was always jazzed for it. But I guess not. If it was points only, it would feel more like an all-star challenge to me. That's what because the all-star races back in the day used to be winners only. Now there's all kinds of gimmicky ways you can get into the all-star race, right? If you're a full-time driver and you get a vote and you get a whatever. But thank you for the heart on my head. Oh, that popped up quick, Jason. I appreciate you. But yeah, really more complicated than it needs to be, for sure. But it would have felt more like an all-star challenge where it's like, okay, cool. Let's do it by points. That there's out of the top 9 drivers, 7 of them have wins. And there's Cindric and Berry. Like those would have been kind of wild cards to be in this bracket challenge too. Where they have wins, but they're outside of the typical points, the typical top points. They're in. Where are they? Hold on. Sorry. I'm scrolling around really fast. They're in 17th and 18th or 16th and 17th. I don't know. It just seems like a lot. It seems a little bloated for me, but I do hope it gets exciting in the TNT when TNT's coverage takes over the actual bracket, when we're out of the seeding period, that they sit everybody down at the beginning of the first broadcast and go over this with an infographic and give people a real understanding of what this is going to be like once the bracket is set. Now, I don't think the bracket is going to change much of the racing on track the way that folks initially may have thought it would. There's a lot of drivers on the bubble this year, and a lot of these drivers too that are in the mix for this bracket challenge. Yeah, it's really cool to win $1 million. But it's really cool to be a NASCAR Cup Series champion and to make the playoffs. So we'll see. I think there's chances for some drivers to do both, but it's if you're talking about terms of priority, what did Priest or Busher say? They didn't even know that the bracket was happening. Yeah, but for all the updates, keep your eyes out on the ATYL socials. Thanks, Duke. Keep your eye out on ATYL social and all the content that the ATYL creators are putting together around the bracket and around your most needed NASCAR news and updates. Motorsports news and updates. We're not just NASCAR. Right now, since it's new, I'm not invested yet. Yeah, I think maybe they could like massage it over a year or two to make it work best for everybody. Just make a little more sense to people. It's the first year. I'm not writing it off like, okay, don't ever do it again. But I mean, you take your learnings from the first year, you give it a 3-year run. Your first year is your testing phase. Okay. Your second year is your innovation phase. And your third year is between the testing and the innovation phases. Your third year is here's what we learned. This is the best possible version we can give them based on the information that we've accrued over the last 2 years. And then you move on and you see if it works. If it don't work that third year, it gets tough to justify again in a fourth and a fifth year, but I think they're, we'll see. We'll see. Trackhouse needs to give my boy Ross a hot rod. No reason Spire Speedway should be that much faster. It's a good question. Good point. I don't know what they're giving him. They give him a hot rod at Charlotte, so they have the ability to do it. It's just I don't know. Trackhouse is a conundrum to me. I don't understand it. Suarez, I'm more confident now than I've ever been, and I know this is a big weekend coming up for him. Mexico City. He's not going to be in that car for much longer. They're going to move him out of that car in the near future. Whether it's Zilich going in there or Heim going in there, somebody's going in that car coming up. So I don't know what Trackhouse has got cooking, but they're always cooking up something over there. Yeah, of course. I'm happy to go over it. I mean, it's giving me the education just as much as it's giving education to all of you, because it's something that it's like, what are we talking about? A bracket now? And it's like I said, I think there's just better ways. I think there's just better ways to do an in-season challenge than this, at least right now. Do you think it's time for the 9 to get a new picker? No, I don't think the 9 should do anything different. I don't think that it's time to sound the alarm on the 9. They're 5th in the points. They're running super consistently. I know it's not flashy. I know it's not sexy. I know people are probably looking at, oh, this is Chase Elliott, though. What do you mean? This is how racing goes. You're not going to get the home run, the grand slam every at bat, especially in the Cup Series. So, I think he wins. I think he wins a race this year. Obviously, it's not going to be one of these deals where he's rattling off win after win after win. There's other cars out there that are fast. It's the Byrons of the world. There's people who are talking about Byron being the top car at Hendrick now over Larson. I don't know what those people are talking about, but people are talking about it. But we'll see. Yeah, Duke, I appreciate you shouting it out. I never do that. I don't know why. I should. I'm getting close to 5,000 followers here on TikTok. As a personal, that's been one of my personal goals for quite a while. I know there's viewers from other places too here on the ATYL channels on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right now. But on my TikTok, there's a number that I set in my head when I first started doing this, and I was like, that would be really cool if we could do that. And 5,000 didn't seem like an unrealistic number. And then as time went on, it seemed more unrealistic. And now we're getting really close. We're getting really close. So I appreciate everybody's support over the last. I mean, I've been doing this for like just about, not at this level, but I've been making some motorsports content for like 2-ish years coming around this fall. So I appreciate everybody's support. We've gone a long way in a short period, really, from making CapCut edits to being a part of the ATYL media family and doing shows like this and live streams and iRacing. I was doing a lot of iRacing for a while. Duke kept smacking me in iRacing, you know, so I had to retire. Duke and Trailer Park Dude kept putting me in my bag. Big iRacing update today. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but this is one of the bigger ones for the Cup fans, for the NASCAR fans. Gen 4 Cup cars are coming back. I hope they do. I hope they do an unranked series, at least for a limited time, to let people get in there and understand what the car feels like, especially if they're not going to have the AI available to run those cars early on, you know, so people can learn how the cars interact with each other on track. But it's going to be fun. I can't wait. The paint schemes alone are going to be electric. So, but yeah, I appreciate everybody sharing the live and being a part of it. The donations, we got almost 2 whole schmeckles in donations today. That's a big up for me, honestly. But yeah, I appreciate everybody. Always the interaction. I've been listening to a lot of Sirius XM. I was actually on Sirius XM. It's like weird. You call into a radio station and they answer your call. I'm on the radio. But like, I do this show every week. I don't know, but it's like, you feel special to be talked to by a radio host. So, you know, I called in on the post-race show after Michigan, and I was asking about, I'll post the clip. It's like a 2-minute video of he and I go back and forth, but just about like the success of the 1.5-mile track, the 2-mile track in the next gen car, especially over the last few weeks. Recent memory, people have short memories, so you know, where does Chicagoland fit into the equation? Chicago's 3-year street course contract is almost done, and it don't look like they're going to go back. From a cost of operations perspective, it would be kind of silly for them to spend all that money to go back to the street course again when they have a perfectly good oval an hour outside of Chicago. That's all I'm saying. I would love for the Chicago fans, and a little bit selfishly, I'm going to say this, but we've given, you know, I haven't done anything. NASCAR has given Chicago the street course. Those fans have gotten something super, super, super unique for 3 years. Wouldn't it be cool for them now to be introduced to oval racing in their own backyard? If they're only going to the street course, now they can, you know, if they're not paying attention to the rest of the year, now let's put an oval in their backyard. Let them see the other side of the coin. That's my thing. I think it would be really great to do, but just separate the men from the boys in those Gen 4 cars. It sure will. You catch me at the back of the pack running pace laps. just finish on the lead lap with 0x. That'll be my mantra in the new Gen 4 car. That Xfinity race at the street course is amazing, though, to be honest. I mean, I think the street racing in Chicago is awesome. I think the street course racing has been great. It's just, I just don't think the cost of it makes sense anymore. Also, too, logistically, really hard to. Oh, this phone is going to be dead. Really hard for them to shut down like the downtown Chicago, you know? So I don't blame them for not renewing the deal. Nonsense. How we might actually see phenomenal racing. We can't have that. Why would we have that? Come on. That's like the Xfinity cars in Michigan. I don't know why the Xfinity cars aren't back in Michigan. That doesn't make any sense. I saw a couple of people tweet about it. Anthony Alfredo was kind of talking about it a little bit. I agree with him. Why not run Xfinity there? I don't understand why they wouldn't put Michigan on the schedule for them. They're already there, like halfway there. The teams are going. Put the Xfinity cars in the haulers. That track would be bananas for Xfinity cars. I hope they don't repave anything. Let them run at least one race on all these. If they're bringing back all these tracks, let them run one race. You know what I'm going to start doing next, right? After Chicagoland comes back. Chicagoland comes back. Here's Sal's perfect laid out world, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Chicagoland comes back. Street course goes away. There's a new street course in Southern California. They can have that. They can do that over there. Okay, Chicagoland comes back. Then Kentucky comes back. That's what Sal wants to do. Bring Kentucky back after Chicagoland. Racetrack revive. Every track on the schedule should get one date, and every race should be at a different track. And they should bring back some of these legacy tracks like Kentucky. You know, they brought back North Wilkesboro. They brought back Rockingham. They're bringing back all these great tracks. Let's if we're gonna do it, let's do it. Like I gave up my Dover got its 2 dates taken away. You know, its second date taken away a long time ago. We get one date. We know what we get. We're happy with it. We pack out. We have a good time. We're done. Give them all one date, and then reintroduce these tracks because they've been to so many tracks over the years. Like people want to see the different types of racing. I think it's a good challenge for these teams to set cars up in different ways and different drivers who feel comfortable in different places to be confident in their ability at certain tracks. So I don't know. I think Kentucky would be a good addition. I know that facility needs a lot of work though. A lot of work at that facility. So we'll see. Won't see 4 series at Michigan with one date. ARCA's 4th. Yeah. ARCA was there this weekend, right? They ran at Michigan this past weekend. Ooh. I was talking to an ARCA driver early. I'm talking to an ARCA driver later today. It's part of the interviews that we typically try to do on the Splash and Dash morning show, where, you know, if it's a light week, I'll backfill the second hour of the show with an interview. But we're going to be talking to Chris Golden. He was in the chat last week. I hit him up. I was like, all right, man. We were talking about how much it costs to run a team. Like, let's chop it up. Let's see. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what you're doing. So that'll be cool. He runs part-time and then does some other things in terms of racing. Did some research. Let's see. I don't know if Chase is in here today. He's a modified and dirt track racer who made a part-time entry into the ARCA Menard Series in 2024. And he's running running other things, which I think is interesting too, to have drivers who do cross discipline racing. So it'll be interesting to chat with him a little bit and see what his perspective is. I wouldn't be a fan of one race per track unless it's a crown jewel. Depends on how many tracks I want to bring back. Realistically, they're not going to run one track, one date a year at some of these tracks because it won't be cash positive for the facilities themselves, and the owners of the tracks probably won't like that. And a lot of the owners of the tracks are NASCAR. NASCAR owns a lot of them anyway. So. Michigan delivered 26 lead changes, 16 leaders. That was crazy, huh? That's why people are like, oh, Michigan race wasn't that good. What do you mean? You know? Crazy. Daytona and Dega should keep 2 dates. I think Daytona should. I'll be honest with you. Talladega is just a fuel savings race in the car that they're in now. Like I'm planning my bachelor party. Well, the boys, we're all planning it together. There's a bunch of us that are going to go on a little trip. And we're talking about, okay, Sal wants to go to a NASCAR event for his bachelor party. Where are you going to go? Now, I don't need to go to Talladega because I've been to Talladega. And if I had any more time at Talladega, I'd get myself in more trouble than I need to be getting in. But in terms of racing, where do you go? And the choices are kind of narrow based on the date window that we're in. But right now we're between Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte. We need a spring race of 26. That's the plan. And my pick right now, based on what I see on the track, is Charlotte. That's where I'd like to be for my bachelor party. That's the one for me. I've been to Daytona to the 500. I've been to Talladega and done the whole experience there. And I think the 600 is appealing to me because I've never been to it, but it's also appealing to me because it gave us some of the best racing this year. So Atlanta is a track that is in the date window to go to if we wanted to go to Atlanta. But right now, when you talk about like, okay, I'm going to bring 15 people to a NASCAR race, I'm taking them to Charlotte. And that's the thing too, is like I'm talking to people who don't really watch NASCAR. They're like, oh, I want to see them pass. I want to see them like do things. Like, yeah, well, then you're not going to like super speedway racing because they don't do nothing until they wreck. They wreck and they finish. So it's been an interesting thought process I've been going through on my side. It doesn't help that we're kind of squeezed into a window of time because I'm getting married in June of next year, so a year from now. And it's kind of late in the game to plan a bachelor party for this year. And I work every November, October and November for me. I don't exist for the most part in terms of my work schedule. So it's hard at the end of the Cup Series season. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think it's more fun to do a bachelor party real close to the wedding, like hangover style, just in case you don't come back from it. just in case. Now I think that's a good point that Brad's making is there's other things to do in Charlotte outside of the race. So if I went for like a week, right? Let's say we rolled in on like a Monday and we stayed all the way through Monday to Monday. We could go golfing. We could go to K1 and go-kart racing. We could go to the Hall of Fame. We could go to Carrigan Farms. We could go to Fan Day at Junior Motorsports or at Hendrick, and we could go do all that stuff. There's more to do. There's concerts. Yeah, there's concerts on Saturday, and they do that at Talladega too, which is awesome. And it's making it an event. Do a bachelor party in the Dega infield, live a little. I did the Dega infield. I did the Dega infield, not as a bachelor party, but I did it. I was there. I've seen it all. I've seen as much as I need to see. Don't get me wrong. It's a blast in that infield. But, if I was 21 and I knew about Talladega infield when I was 21, I'd have been to every Talladega race since. But I'm 30 now, and I can't sleep on the ground anymore in a tent. I don't know. There's a lot of shenanigans and hijinks going on in that infield, let me tell you. Somebody asked, where are we headed next? We are headed to Mexico City. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. That is the track. I'm going to do my super best to not mess up the way to say that. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is a unique road course with a steep altitude bus stop like chicane and heavy braking zones. Road course prowess matters. Look to performers like Chris Buescher, Christopher Bell, and Shane Van Gisbergen to be competitors in Mexico City. I think Kyle Busch is going to be a competitor in this race in a big way as well. I think you're going to see some road course specialists pop out of the woodwork. After his run at COTA, I think they're really close. That 8 team is close on road courses. Denny Hamlin won the Xfinity Series at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in 2006, and the track suits his aggressive braking style, even though he's not been high on himself in road course situations. So there are some international provisionals that are going to run. Any double duty. There is double duty. I have to pull it up because there's more than one. There's a few. Let me scroll down here and find it. I don't want to buy tickets for it. I just want to see the. Oh, did they literally update this while we were sitting here? No way they didn't do that. Suarez is in the 9 cars for Xfinity. Okay, here it is. All righty. 2025 Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez Xfinity race. We've got Sheldon Creed, Carson Kvapil, Jesse Love, Parker Retzlaff, Chris Wright, Alex Labe. I don't know who that is. Justin Allgaier, Sammy Smith. Daniel Suarez will run the number 9 car. Daniel Dyes in the 10. Josh Williams. Josh Balicki is running the 14. So not double duty, but someone kind of running a part-time situation there. I think my flyer for the week is going to be Buescher. I think that's a good person to be hot on after what we saw from him at Watkins Glen. Christian X, William Swalch. Ty Gibbs is running the 19 in the Xfinity at Mexico City. So that's a double duty guy right there. We're looking at Christopher Bell in the 24 in that Sam Hunt Racing machine, that Toyota. That'll be a double duty. There's no one earmarked for this 35 car. It's on the entry list with no driver. And no sponsor. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. That's strange to see. It just has a little icon next to the number. Sage Karam's going to run. So that'll be fun. Thomas Annunziata will be back. Connor Zilich. Andreas Perez de Lara is, I believe, runs in the Mexico series. Like in the NASCAR, in that series all the time. Let me do a little Googling. Hold on. I want to make sure before I go. No, he runs for Spire. Okay. I've seen him in truck races. Yeah, he runs full-time in the truck series for Spire Motorsports and part-time in the Xfinity series for DGM and Jesse Awuji Motorsports. He is a 2024 ARCA Menard Series champion, also champion of the Mickles Truck Series, having won in 2020. He also competed in NASCAR Mexico Series. He's a champion of the NASCAR Mexico Challenge Series, having won it in 2022. Okay, so there you go. I wasn't too far off there. But yeah, there is some double duty. It'll be fun. Be fun to see. Ross has been fun in the booth. I think there's been some good drivers in the booth this year. Sorry, my eye is super itchy. It's been like this the last couple days, and it is very bothersome. There's been some good drivers in the booth. Ross is fun to kind of hear his takes on things. He can get a little spicy in there too. He's got some good vernacular that I think is good for fans. All right, let me pull this up. We're at 1 hour and 43 minutes already, kids. This has been awesome. Let's see if we can get a cup entry list. Mexico City. So let's see who is, okay, we got the typical crew here in the Cup Series. Nobody really out of place or new in the Cup Series. We got Cody Ware, we got McDowell, Hocevar. Catherine Legg is back in the 78 for the Live Fast Motorsports Elf Cosmetics team. So that'll be somebody to watch. We've a lot of conversation around Catherine Legg. I know, oh, she's not ready. She's not this, she's not that. Well, they've given her a lot of education now. She's been, after the stuff that happened early in the year, I am hopeful for Catherine Legg that she finds success. I think if you're going to put her on a track, I think a road course, based on her experience in the past, outside of NASCAR, I think she'll find a lot of success on road courses for sure. I think road courses will shake up how the playoffs look. Yeah, I do. I think road courses are the reason Shane Van Gisbergen exists in NASCAR, to be really honest with you. Um, it's interesting that, they've made this they're taking this position where they're gonna take a shot with SVG to get him in the playoffs because that's makes money for the team, and it puts them in the playoffs automatically. They don't need him to run well any other time of year. The whole year for him is a learning experience, and then the road courses. That's what the SVG experiment is all about. I think there's a couple of drivers that are doing that, like AJ Allmendinger. Like, not to take anything away from AJ Allmendinger because he's been having a great year, like on his own. He's in 19th in the points in that Call-It car. But that car has been, he's in the mix with Hocevar, with Ricky. He's in the mix with Josh Berry, Austin Cindric. He's in the mix with these guys. What is he? He has 104 points. He's tied for 18th with Hocevar. He's 5 points out of Berry's spot. He's in the mix down there in that above 20th area. So, one good weekend, a couple good road courses, or a road course win, and he's in there. But I think that's, there's a lot of road course specialists that I think kind of sit on their laurels and really use the opportunity in tracks like this to execute and put themselves in a playoff position. Okay. Yeah. But I think it's been it's going to be a good week in Mexico. I think it's, there's the track itself. I don't know if people have seen this track. If you haven't seen it, we should. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. This track is unreal looking. Like, it looks like it's inside of a stadium. I mean, what do I know? I've never seen this place. But like, the layout itself is kind of crazy looking. And this is also where F1 races in Mexico City as well. So it's built for this. They also run an oval there inside of the track, but it's a big course. It's big. And this chicane, this bus stop chicane, I mean, you have to stop to make this right-hander. You have to, it's like turn 7 at the Roval. That's what this reminds me of. Not quite as sharp, but I mean, I like that Dinger made his way back to the cup. Day I thought was over for him. Do you think Ty starts to snowball with road courses coming up and finishing P3 at Michigan? I think he's on a trajectory forward. If you mean snowball in terms of snowballing forward, yes, I think he's going to start moving and shaking his way into more consistent finishes. Now that super young team there with him, they're new, so it's going to be one of these deals where they have to get some momentum and keep it rolling. And if they can do that in Mexico, he's run pretty good at road courses in the past. I don't think he's going to come out and blow the brakes off of everybody, but I think he could be really, really competitive. Yeah, that 35 car is a conundrum. Heim's got another year on in that seat. See what happens after that. There was a lot of money talk about how he ended up in that seat. I don't know anything for a fact, so I'm not going to say anything in a public forum. But there was some conversations like deep in the Twitterverse, which who knows what's true. But he's in that car right now. He's got that big Monster Energy sponsorship, and they've done a lot of good things to try to develop that team and get data for 2311 and try to be competitive. But it's clearly it's been a struggle. So this track looks like a ton of fun. This chicane is super unique to the track, it seems. And they have like this huge concert space. Like, what is this called? This is like a music festival? I don't know. It looks like a music festival. There's 110,000 people in this arena. There's 110,000 people you could put in this place. It's a lot of people. So hopefully they put on a good show there. I think, obviously NASCAR going back to Mexico, they've been before. Um, but I think it's a great way to kind of spread the sport internationally. So excited about it, honestly. Be cool. I wonder if Buddy's going to Mexico. He talked about it. I wonder if he's going. He's a seat warmer for Heim. Yeah, part of it. I'm sure. If I own that car and I have to pick between Herbst and Heim, um, you could own gas stations, you could own spaceships, you could own whatever you want. I'm putting Heim in the car. The kid wins races. I think if Herbst goes back down to the Xfinity series, couple of years, I think he could be the real deal. I think he just didn't. I just think they brought him up too early. I think they just thought like, okay, oh, he won races, bring him up. Like he's this old. This is the progression. But like I don't know. I'm very much so the mindset like, why run around in 30th every week when you can run at the front in an Xfinity car? And then when you're ready to make that leap, you do it. You do it when the time is right, when the performance matches what you want to be doing. I was curious why Heim wouldn't. I want to know. Oh, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Why you can't put aside your differences with another driver to make a business decision to try to attract Corey Heim to a Joe Gibbs Cup car. You know, I get they might not like each other. That's fine. It's not all bubblegum, pots of gold and rainbows. But if you're Joe Gibbs and if you're Ty Gibbs, knowing that odds are you'll be a part of that company in an ownership role down the road, why would you not get over it and make a smart business decision to try to bring this kid into the fold? I don't get it. Oh, they don't like each other. They race each other hard. They this, they that. It don't matter. Put him in the car. Let him run races. Let him go out there and win for your organization. It seems to me that Ty Gibbs didn't make a lot of friends in Xfinity in general. I know he's got a couple of beefs with some of the drivers in that series that now he is the bottleneck maybe for some of these guys not being his teammate. So curious, definitely an interesting thing. So is there anything we want to finish up on today? Because we're getting close to our 2-hour mark and I have a phone call after this. So we're going to talk to Chris Golden, part-time ARCA guy. I'm a Truex fan that's now a Reddick fan, and I'm wondering how the lawsuit will be affecting things. We talked about it. Well, first of all, from one Truex fan to another, glad you're here. We don't know how the lawsuit's going to affect things. It really depends on if they pull their charters midway through the year. I would imagine that drivers at 2311 and FRM will finish the year. They will probably finish the year despite whatever their contract says that they need to be in a chartered ride. So that's how I think it'll affect it, but I'm not a lawyer and I don't know what the implications are. Mm, 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 mm. Mm-mm. Let me just like look and see. Any big things that we've noticed? Any big stories we're missing? You know what I do when I need my latest motorsport news? I go to ATYL Media and I go in here and I click on Above the Yellow Line and I scroll through here. And I just check out all the latest news and updates from across the motorsports world. Mm-hmm. MTJ, can you run some more Xfinity races, please? Somebody was talking about that not too long ago. He he made a lot of comments about it at the end of the year last year. He came back and he run Daytona. Oh, that's who said it to me when I was talking to them. Someone close to him alluded to the fact that he would run more Xfinity races. That's all I'm going to say about it. So there's conversation happening. He's aware of it. From what I understand, he's been on his boat for the last however many weeks. I don't think many people have. I saw him on New Year's Eve, and I think after that experience, he probably wanted to run as far away as possible. But maybe Dover. That's a home track. Maybe Pocono. He's not going to tell the way that this works too, right? He's not going to tell anybody what he's doing until right before he's doing it. Till right before he's ready to do it, because he doesn't want the fanfare, the lead up, or the media attention. And that's fine. He just wants to go out there and race. But we're not gonna know. You're not gonna know until right before it's ready to happen. So good luck. I'm holding my breath. I think you're gonna see him. I think you could see him realistically, and I don't know anything you don't in terms of what he's doing in the Xfinity side. But I don't think you're gonna see him do anything until potentially Dover, Pocono, maybe Loudon, tracks he knows that he can get on there and really be good. If you met him 23 times, it took me 10 years to meet him once, and I was drunk as a skunk. So I'd like a redo. So I gotta come tag along with you. I gotta come tag along with you and see if I can get my redemption. I miss him because that 19 seems to be really fast. They're getting a lot of poles, and I think if Truex were in that car, I think they'd have a win by now. Not that Briscoe's a bad driver, but I just think the Truex knew what he wanted out of the car and wasn't afraid to mince words and tell people how to get it. So, I mean, he's my local guy too, so I miss him. But I had to science it. I had it to a science. I feel like you need to have it to a science. He's an elusive character. I would love to see. Yeah, that would be fun because they ran the double weekend. They did the brothers sweep weekend at Dover a couple years ago. It'd be cool to see them race against each other. Dover's a track too where Martin got his first one of his first Busch wins, and it's a track that's big for their family too. So it'd be cool to see them do that. So is New Hampshire. His dad ran at New Hampshire in the Busch North Series for a while, and even Pocono. So it's cool. Chelsea, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you're following along. We'll see you hopefully at some of these races coming up. We'll be at Pocono in the Glen right now. That's on the list of tickets to purchase today. I don't think Briscoe has that connection with Small. I don't think anybody has a good. It's tough to make a connection with him. You saw Cole Pern when he left that team. Things changed for sure, and everybody was like, "Oh well, Martin just really likes working with Cole Pern." Okay, no, now Martin's not there. Now it's just James Small and Chase Briscoe. It's like, okay, ooh, how do we do this? What are we doing? The car's set up good for qualifying. Good golly. I mean, they are blasting to the front. But that car is slipperier than a buttered up noodle in terms of race day. It's not looking super hot. They seem to be able to rebound pretty well. Last week they were able to rebound back and get a good finish. Where is that car in the point standings? The 19 is in 11th place in the point standings, so it's not like as abysmal as I'm making it out to be. Maybe some favoritism, maybe some bias being shown on my part, but yeah, this will be our first time at the Glen. Pocono will be my second trip. I went years and years ago. Didn't really know what I was doing at Pocono years ago, so I'm excited to kind of see it. We sat in the college seats way down in front, so I'm interested to kind of get up a little higher, not in the shaded section because those tickets are super expensive, by the way. Not what I'm interested in paying. But the 200s, high up in the 200s is kind of where I'm going to be hanging, hopefully, at Pocono. And then the Glen I've never been, so if people have any advice for where it was good to sit at the Glen? Because I know it's a road course. You're not going to see the whole track, obviously. I would be super appreciative of whatever tips and tricks about Watkins Glen people could give me, because I don't know. Pocono is on my list. I've never been. It's Denny's house, so I want to go so bad. Pocono is a fun track because it's the tricky triangle. It's one of those unique layout tracks that is it an intermediate? Not really. Is it an oval? Definitely not. Like is it a what is it? Like it's fun. It's one of those fun tracks. So I'm always amped to go up there. Can I sit and turn one at the Glen? Okay. Keep my eyes peeled. The S's are the best. Okay. The S's, turn one. Should be interesting to shop for those tickets. But yeah, a couple of races coming up. I'm excited for it. Hopefully Wall Stadium Speedway. Always have to give them a shout out here weekly. It's been tough the last 2 weeks with the rain. It's supposed to rain again on Saturday. Again. I was in the booth with the crew for one weekend, and now it's been 2 rainouts in a row. It's going to rain. It's looking like rain again on Saturday. And on top of that, I have a graduation party I'm supposed to go to on Saturday. So it's like a mess, really. And then the weekend after that is Pocono, where Earl Krause is the lead announcer at Wall Stadium. He also does the PA at Pocono. So he will be out all weekend at Wall Stadium the weekend of Pocono. So I am trying to be there that weekend to try to really step up and be a part of the production that happens at Wall Stadium. So we'll see. There should be some good racing. I won't be able to do it as good as Earl, but if you're in the area and you want to come out that Pocono weekend to Wall Stadium, I'm sure you'll see me running around a little bit at the track at a local level. Prime is doing so good. Boomers complain they can't watch. Guess what audience needs to get? What the audience needs to get younger, and we're broadcasting it for you. Yeah, that video I posted on TikTok kind of made some waves where it was like, listen, Prime isn't for you boomers anymore. Boomers hate being called boomers, by the way. Learned that the hard way, but it's true. I'm happy for most people. If you're older, I'm happy you're watching on Prime. It's not that I don't want older people to watch. It's not built for them. Like by design, it's not for them. But it's great. I think if older folks who are using Prime are watching it, I think they're getting a flashback to the old days, to the 90s when things were really moving and grooving, and the broadcasts were longer form and had good pre-race and good post-race. It used to be that way. So I'm glad if they are tuning in, but it is like there was somebody who posted something about how there were less viewers on the cup races on Prime, and it's like it's not about how many viewers you have. It's about how many engaged viewers you have. What is your engaged audience? That's what's important. We don't like Prime, not paying any more to watch NASCAR. I pay enough for cable. You get a 30-day free trial of Prime to watch these races. So you don't even have to keep it. You just run through the trial and then cancel your subscription. Then you can watch on TNT when they switch over to cable. It's as simple as that. Like it's if it was up to me, they'd run them all on Prime. Honestly. For the money I pay for Prime, the way that I use Prime, I'm not a big fan of being out here giving Jeff Bezos free advertising. I'm not a big fan of it, but they're putting on a good product right now. You get free 2-day shipping. You get all the Prime advantages of shopping on Amazon, plus all the video you get on Prime Video already. Like movies and TV shows, they have a ton of stuff on Prime Video. I have the Top Gear channel on my TV all the time. I go to sleep to it at night. I've seen every episode of Top Gear 15 times. I don't care. Clarkson's Farm, was watching that last night. What a program. What a fantastic show. All their shows are very well produced if you're interested in them. And then you get live sports. And not only if you pay for Prime are you getting NASCAR, if you watch football, if you watch other sports, you're getting more. You're getting it now because they're able to be in those markets. So it's interesting that people, user 2400378563167 is 61 and will watch truck races and Xfinity and Cup but not paying for Prime, don't want them, then that's fine if you don't want them. But this is the way it's going. So either you're in or you're out on it. And I don't want to hear that NASCAR died with Dale. It died with Dale. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of that. So tired of the NASCAR died with Dale stuff. It's exhausting. It didn't. Kenny Wallace had some great points this week in his Kenny Conversations, Coffee with Kenny. And Kenny has always leaned on the side of NASCAR a little bit harder than maybe maybe harder than others in certain situations. But I see Kenny Wallace as a voice of reason sometimes. And he made a great point where it's like, NASCAR during the early 2000s, and if you've watched the Earnhardt documentary, they were selling $1 billion worth of merchandise. Like that's like to the level of the NFL. Like that's big, 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 big. It's hard to maintain something like that. It's not easy to do. So yeah, the product plateaued and things weren't as good as they were when you had this. Like, how do you fill the shoes of a storyline like what we had with Dale Earnhardt and Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip and Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon and Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle and all these drivers who had great stories and who were great on the track around each other and were battling every week with each other? How do you replace people like a Mark Martin, in this modern era? You can't replace them. You have to let the life cycle bring you something new. And we're getting it now a little at a time, but it's very much so a plateau. Okay. It decreased and it plateaus. Now we're going to start making the charge back up. And I think with broadcasts like Prime and new partners coming in like Ram, I see comments on TikTok videos and it's like, this is the death of American motorsports. Like NASCAR is the harbinger of death to American motorsports. Shut your mouth. You're wrong. You're wrong. Why would Ram trucks come into a series that's dying? Why would there be investments in these teams and in these drivers and in these programs if there wasn't success, a plan for success moving forward? I think there's just a lot of people who like to yap their jaws around. And I could talk with the best of them, but a lot of people with Timmy Two Thumbs syndrome. Let me tell you. And I think that's the big thing. It's going to be about who's an engaged audience member. And we're getting there. We're certainly getting there. When I talk to my friends online at night who have never watched NASCAR a day in their life, and they tell me they're excited to go with me to the track and they're going to be looking for the Dale Earnhardt merchandise tent, something's right. Something is going right. That's how you get them in the door. Oh, who should I follow? Like, look at Ryan Fitzpatrick on Twitter. Who should I be a fan of? It's introducing the sport to new people, and it has to be that way. It has to go to this F1 model style of audience retention. Those are a lot of big words, but I'll say it again. F1 style model of audience retention. It has to be a broader audience group that you're appealing to because that's who has money, and that's how the sport grows. NASCAR in the early days was so popular in the Southeast because there was no other professional sports in the area. It's growing legs and walking, and it's growing legs and running, and it's getting out there to the public, and people want to be a part of it. And it's going to be tough for some of the old heads to watch it evolve the way that they may not agree it lives in the modern era. Yeah, Fitzy's going to be at Pocono. Hopefully we're into him. That big bearded beauty. I hope I get to see him. But all right. That's the end of my rant for today. 2 hours went by in the blink of an eye. I'll tell you what, it was hard getting out of bed this morning, and just half a cup of cold brew really got me sparked up. I really appreciate everybody in the chat, though. Can I look at live metrics to see how many people were chatting in here today? Oh, no, it went away. Oh, I didn't want it to go away. Mm. Mm. What happened? Still live, but like I don't know what happened to the sidebar. Where'd it go? Huh. Nope. Okay. That's not awesome. Turn off live preview and volume level display. Mark up. No, just show me the chat again. How annoying is this? My God. Anyway, real-time performance. I'll use this one. Tons of chatters today. I appreciate 220 comments from everyone here on this particular live. So it's been awesome. Oh, there you all are down here. Oh, it moved you all to my other screen. Wow. Now, if I the pop-out menu got me. The pop-out menu gets me. It used to get me when I did iRacing too. It always gets me. I'm just getting home from my ass this morning. I'm in a bit of a little fog. We camped out for a whole week. Time to sober up. God bless you, brother. get some bread in your body. But no, I really appreciate everybody who stopped in here. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, we've been chatting all morning. You guys make it really easy for me to come on here and have conversations about, the sport and about everything that's going on, whether it's, recapping the week, talking about lawsuits or previewing Mexico City or talking about Jim France and whatever else we're covering in today's conversation. Appreciate everybody who's a part of it. Going to be keeping my eyes and ears open here as we move forward this week, going through Mexico City. You'll see some clips go up. I'm trying to do some different content. I'm getting a little burnt out. I just feel like I just regurgitate short form clipped content like from the show, which is great. Like, but I want to try to do something a little different, and I haven't really figured out how to do that. So, yeah, something to keep an eye out. If you follow, please, I appreciate everybody who already did follow. Duke came in here. You can ask most people who are in here weekly. I'm not a big like follow, like, and subscribe kind of person, but if you want to stick around and be a part of these conversations moving forward here, TikTok at Slide Job Sal, Instagram at Slide Job Sal, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Please give Above the Yellow Line some love. Above the Yellow Line Media has given everybody, all these creators, a great opportunity. And be a part of this broader industry in the media. So really appreciate them. Really appreciate our sponsor, Happy Hour Racing. They are in the QR code up here on Facebook, YouTube, and X platforms. They are a premier partner of ATYL Media. You can find all of your race gear from a family-owned business. This is not like you're ordering from Fanatics. So if you want to support a family-owned business that's just trying to make their way in the apparel game out here in the motorsports space. They have some great designs. They get things from all over the place. Great website. They even do subscription boxes where you can get like a monthly merch drop. They do some really cool and innovative things for motorsports fans, especially in the NASCAR space. So check them out. Happy Hour Racing. Again, support the brands that support the creators that you enjoy being engaged with. Vanilla Thunder, thank you so much for all the likes there. It's awesome to be able to chat with everybody this morning. And we will see you all post Mexico City after the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. I'm getting